The storm outside had no mercy. It howled like a beast, tearing through the city with relentless fury. Rain lashed against the windows of our tiny, crumbling house, drowning out the sound of my heart breaking. I stood frozen in the doorway of our living room, soaked from the downpour, the hem of my jeans clinging to my ankles. My backpack slid off my shoulder and hit the floor with a soft thud, but no one noticed. My father was there, pacing like a rat caught in a trap. His hair disheveled, his hands trembling, sweat coating his brow despite the cold. Across from him sat a man who didn't belong in a house like ours. He was too polished. Too still. Too terrifying. Everything about him was sharp, his jawline, the line of his coat, the glint in his icy gray eyes. A cigarette rested between his fingers, unlit, like even fire feared to touch him. His legs were crossed, hands relaxed, face unreadable. He looked like the type of man who owned everything in the room, including the people inside it. And maybe he did. My father's voice cracked. "Please, just give me more time." "No," the man said simply. "You've already used time you didn't have." That voice, it was soft. Velvet smooth. Controlled. But something in it made the hairs on the back of my neck rise. My eyes flicked between them. Something was wrong. "Dad?" My voice came out thin and small. "What's going on?" The man looked at me then. For the first time. His gaze traveled over me slowly, methodically, like he was evaluating a new car, not a person. I could feel the chill of it on my skin, like fingers trailing down my spine. "This," he said, gesturing lazily toward me, "is the payment." I blinked. "What?" My father rubbed his hands together, looking everywhere but at me. "Elena, please. Just go pack a bag." "You're joking." My voice rose an octave. What the hell is this?" "You knew I had debts," he said, almost pleading. "You knew I was in trouble. I didn't know you were planning to sell me off like livestock." The stranger's lips twitched, almost a smirk. "Don't flatter yourself. I don't buy livestock. I collect silence." "What does that mean?" I snapped, trembling. He stood, slow and smooth. He was tall, over 6 feet. Broad-shouldered. Impeccably dressed in a black coat and gloves that matched the storm outside. His presence felt like ice slowly creeping across the room. "It means," he said, stepping closer, "that your father's voice will never mention my name again. And in exchange, I take what I was promised." "You can't do this." "I can," he interrupted. "And I will." I looked at my father, begging him with my eyes. "Please," I whispered. "Don't do this to me." Tears welled in his eyes. "You'll have everything with him. Money. Safety. A better life." "A cage," I spat. "You're handing me to a stranger like I'm a briefcase." The man took a step toward me. His eyes locked on mine, cold and unblinking. "I don't care if you cry. I don't care if you scream. You're coming with me. Now." I didn't realize I was backing away until my spine hit the wall. This wasn't real. This couldn't be happening. "I'm not some toy you can buy," I hissed. He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping an octave. "No. You're a burden someone else gave up. And I paid dearly to carry it." Those words cut deeper than any blade. A black car pulled up outside. He turned away, already done with me. "You have 2 minutes. Pack. Or I'll have someone do it for you." My father didn't speak. He didn't follow me upstairs. He didn't say goodbye. I packed in silence. My hands shook so badly I could barely zip my suitcase. I grabbed only the essentials, jeans, a few tops, my mother's old necklace, and the journal I wrote in when I couldn't breathe. When I came back down, the stranger was already at the door. He didn't look at me when I passed him. Just nodded to his driver. I left behind the house I grew up in. The girl I used to be. The illusions I'd once clung to. The car ride was silent. I sat stiffly in the back, my suitcase on the floor, my fists clenched on my lap. The man didn't speak. Didn't glance at me. He just stared out the window like the city bored him. After a while, I asked, "Where are we going?" His eyes flicked to mine briefly. "My home." "That doesn't answer anything." "I don't owe you answers," he said coolly. "You're not here to question. You're here to obey." My jaw tightened. "And if I don't?" He smiled without humor. "Then I'll enjoy watching you try." God, I hated him. But beneath that hatred, something else stirred. A strange curiosity. A pull I didn't understand. He was magnetic in the worst way, like a storm you couldn't look away from. "What's your name?" I asked finally. He took his time before answering. "Lucien Moreau." I knew that name. Everyone did. The billionaire who owned half the city. The ghost who built empires out of shadows. The man they said had no heart, only hunger. I swallowed hard and turned my face to the window, hoping he couldn't hear how loud my pulse had become. When we arrived, I forgot how to breathe. His house wasn't a house. It was a fortress carved from black stone and glass, perched on a cliff overlooking the sea. Modern. Cold. Isolated. Just like him. Inside, everything was sleek and minimalist: steel, marble, shadows. The air smelled like expensive cologne and secrets. "Your room is on the 3rd floor," he said, walking ahead without waiting for me. "Don't touch anything that doesn't belong to you. Don't go where you're not allowed." I followed like a prisoner, my steps echoing on the polished floors. "You're not going to lock me up in a basement or something?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He glanced back, amused. "You're not worth that much effort. Bastard." He led me to a room at the far end of a long hall. It was bigger than my entire apartment. A king-sized bed, velvet drapes, a walk-in closet, and a bathroom that looked like a spa. It was beautiful. It was a cage. "I'll have clothes delivered," he said. "You'll dine at 7. Don't be late." With that, he left, shutting the door behind him. I stood in the silence, staring at my reflection in the tall mirror. I didn't recognize the girl looking back. She was pale, hollow-eyed, shivering. Sold. Just like that. I sank to the floor, pulled my knees to my chest, and cried until I couldn't anymore. Dinner was tense. Lucien sat at the head of a long glass table, dressed in black, sipping wine like a king on his throne. I sat on the opposite end, untouched food in front of me, trying not to look at him. "Eat," he said without looking up. "I'm not hungry." He slowly lifted his eyes to mine. That wasn't a suggestion. "I'm not a pet." "No," he agreed. "Pets are treated better." My stomach twisted, both in rage and in something else. Something I didn't want to name. "I don't know what you expect from me," I muttered. "Obedience." I clenched my jaw. "And if I give you that, do I get my freedom eventually?" He studied me for a moment. "Why would I return what I paid for?" That hit harder than I expected. "So I'm just yours now?" "Yes," he said simply. "For now." I looked away, hating the heat in my cheeks. "You act like this is new," he said. "Women have been traded for centuries. At least you get to live in comfort." I snapped, "Comfort is not the same as freedom." He smirked. "You'll learn the difference soon enough." Later that night, I couldn't sleep. The wind howled against the glass windows of my room. The ocean roared below. I lay curled under silk sheets, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I ended up in this surreal nightmare. And yet, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Lucien Moreau. The man who bought me. The man everyone feared. He wasn't like any man I'd ever met. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He didn't need to. His presence alone commanded obedience. But there was something behind his coldness. A shadow. A scar. He was cruel. But not chaotic. Dangerous, but calculated. And sometimes, when he thought I wasn't looking, I saw the way his fingers curled at the edge of the table. The way his jaw locked for just a moment too long. The way he stared at the sea like it owed him something. That wasn't a man without feelings. That was a man who buried them. Deep. The next morning, I found a note under my door. Meet me in the library. Now. No signature. No explanation. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something in me wanted to see him again. Even if it was just to argue. I found the library on the second floor. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. Velvet chairs. A fire crackling in the hearth. Lucien stood by the window, watching the rain. "You're late," he said. "It's 5 minutes. You'll learn to be early." I crossed my arms. "Why am I here?" He turned to face me. His eyes scanned my face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Slowly, he reached into a drawer and pulled out a thin leather folder. "Open it." I did. Inside were documents. Papers. Photos. Of me. School records. Medical history. Even old pictures from high school I didn't know still existed. I stared at him, heart thudding. "You had me investigated?" I had to know what I was buying. My stomach turned. "Do you even hear yourself?" He stepped closer. "You intrigue me, Elena. Not because you're beautiful. Not because you were a convenient transaction. But because you look at me like I'm still human. And you hate that?" He paused. "No," he said quietly. "I hate that I want it to be true." I didn't know what to say. For the first time, something real flickered in his eyes. Pain. Regret. Loneliness. But just like that, it was gone. He turned away, his walls snapping back up. "You may go." And that was the beginning. The beginning of a dark, twisted tale between two broken souls. One who bought silence. And one who refused to be quiet. They say some cages are made of bars. Others are made of silk. Mine was stitched with luxury, silence, and invisible chains. And the man who held the key? Lucien Moreau. After that morning in the library, things changed. Slightly. Quietly. Not with grand gestures or apologies, Lucien didn't believe in those. But with glances that lingered too long. Words that cut a little less. And silence, that meant something more. But don't mistake that for kindness. Lucien still ruled his world with cold precision. He gave orders like they were law. He moved through the mansion like a shadow with a heartbeat. And he reminded me every day, I belonged to him. It started with his rules. A list delivered by a woman named Greta, who looked like she'd been carved from stone and suspicion. She was his housekeeper. Maybe his guard dog. Maybe both. She handed me a typed paper with no smile, no explanation. Lucien's rules. Wake at 7 a.m. Always. No visitors. No phone. No social media. Meals are mandatory. Skipping them is considered defiance. No locked doors, except mine. Stay out of the West Wing. Do not attempt to leave. You belong to me. The last line wasn't numbered. Just typed in bold. Like a signature. Like a sentence. I wanted to burn it. Instead, I hung it inside my closet, right where I could see it every day, so I could remember who I was fighting. The mansion felt like a haunted palace. Rooms stretched wider than logic. Walls whispered with secrets. And every hallway carried the quiet echo of Lucien's power. He barely spoke to me that first week. But I saw him everywhere. In the library, flipping through rare books he probably never read. In the courtyard, standing beneath the stone archways with a glass of dark liquor in his hand. Late at night, walking past my door. Always alone. He never brought women home. Never smiled. Never laughed. Lucien Moreau wasn't lonely. He was hollow. And somehow, that scared me more than if he had been cruel. I didn't follow all his rules. I started with number 1. I slept in. On purpose. The next morning, my door flew open at 7:10. Lucien stood there, dressed in a crisp black shirt, his jaw tight, his eyes unreadable. "You're late." I stretched slowly, like a cat. Didn't know sleeping was a crime now. It is when I say so. I sat up in bed, yawned dramatically. "You gonna punish me, Mr. Moreau?" His eyes darkened slightly. "I should," he said, stepping closer. "But then you'd enjoy it, wouldn't you?" That shut me up. He leaned down, so close I could feel the cold heat of his breath. "You like testing me, Elena. You want to see what I'll do. But let me warn you," his voice dropped into a dangerous whisper. "You have no idea what I'm capable of." My breath caught in my throat. Not from fear. But from something else. Something warm and reckless. He straightened, adjusted his cuff, and walked out without another word. And I hated how badly I wanted to follow. Later that day, Greta found me in the garden. She handed me a new key. Silver. Ornate. "For the art wing," she said. "What art wing?" She tilted her head. "The one you've been avoiding like it bites." I took the key hesitantly. Lucien hadn't said anything about this. But maybe, that was the point. The art wing was unlike the rest of the house. Where everything else was sterile, sharp, and cold, this space was alive. Paintings. Sculptures. Canvases leaning against walls. Some unfinished. Some chaotic. Some broken. I wandered through them, breathless. So many emotions splattered across surfaces. Rage. Beauty. Loneliness. Then I saw it. A portrait. Hidden behind a black curtain. I pulled it back, and froze. It was me. Not smiling. Not posing. But captured raw, real, and wounded. Like someone had seen through my skin and painted the soul beneath. Lucien painted this. I didn't need to ask. I could feel him in every stroke. A wave of confusion hit me. Why paint me like this? Unless, he saw something I didn't. I turned, and screamed. Lucien stood behind me, silent as a ghost. He didn't speak. Just stared at the portrait. "You painted me," I whispered. He didn't deny it. Why? He answered with a question of his own. "Do you think it looks like you?" "I think it looks like how I feel." He nodded once, almost imperceptibly. "Good. That's creepy, you know. Obsessive." He stepped forward. "Or maybe it's truth. And you've never seen yourself clearly." The way he said it. Like he knew me better than I did. It terrified me. And thrilled me. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Lucien was under my skin now. In my thoughts. In my breath. I wandered into the library just past midnight. The fire was low, and I thought I was alone, until I saw him. Sitting on the leather armchair, glass in hand, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. He looked tired. Human. Almost sad. "I thought you didn't drink," I said softly. He glanced at me, then back at the fire. "I don't. I pretend." I stepped closer, unsure why. Why? Because pretending is easier than feeling. I sat across from him, pulled my legs onto the chair. We stayed in silence for a long time. Then I asked the question that had haunted me since day one. Why did you want me?